And we're live.
So for people who don't know, the very quick background is you had your family fucking with you, lying to you, gaslighting you for like, it seemed like 6 years. Can you give us a little recap on that as you're financially supporting them, keeping them from being homeless, and they just seem to treat you like absolute garbage?
Yes, sure. So when I first moved after college, I got my first job. I found out that they were losing their house in the form of, I got an email that said my credit card was maxed out.
Oh no.
And
that's not how you usually find out.
No.
Yeah. And I was really, how did you get my credit card? But when I first got here, I was unaware that they were losing their house. And it was the first time I had seen them in a few years. So we were just hanging out, and I needed some credit cards to live to my first paycheck. So I mailed those to them while I was moving, and they brought them, but they wrote the credit card numbers down. And they were buying everything for me, like taking me out to dinner and stuff while we were here hanging out with my credit cards. So I found out months later in the middle of a work day that my credit card was maxed out. And I called and I was like, what is this? And I saw the bill. It was Kyle will know because he's in Atlanta, but it's Marietta Power Company.
Yes.
Yeah. They were in Georgia. So I was like, what? I don't even live there. And so it was just kind of like a downhill spiral, I guess. But instead of, I was mad, but instead of being mad, I was more concerned that my family was in the process of becoming homeless. So I gave them my entire savings, gave them my apartment, and then went and got another apartment, and they moved here. And then after that, there was a lot of lies involved, got involved with drugs. And then I was totally unaware. I guess I'm just super naive.
Yeah. So like, I wanted to ask this because I also did a little bit of research, and it seemed like, how old were you when this specific incident occurred? When your credit card was maxed out and you were like, oh wait, my family's losing their home. How old were you then?
About 25.
So prior to you being 25, had there been like little red flags along the way, like when you were a child, when you were an adolescent, when you were a teenager?
No, not so much. I think growing up it was fairly normal. I knew that they did some dumb spending things, like they would buy things that I'm like, how can you afford that? But there wasn't any. But there was never any like, that's just stealing from your kids. There was never.
It's worse than stealing. Like it's identity theft, right? Like
ruins your credit, all that stuff.
It ruins your credit. Like money can be replaced really easily. Credit is so hard to rebuild. You know, you can't just go to Chase and be like, no, you don't understand. You see, my mom stole my identity. I pay my bills. It's her. They're like, well, how do we know that she's not going to steal your identity? Can't like they don't believe you. They're not going to believe that shit. So
I think the decision is whether or not you want your parents to take the fall for it, right? Like in my mind, so I watched this too. The choice was I can either, accept a screwed up credit record and pay off these bills, or two, my parents go to jail. Because my credit gets stolen all the time. Not so much in the last year, but it used to happen like literally twice a month. And they'd be like, hey, we've got these weird charges at like Cumberland Farms. They're not even around here, jewelry stores, whatever. And I'd just be like, nope, that's a you problem. That's fraud. That has nothing to do with me. And they're like, all right, we get it. And it was easy as that. They just accepted my word. They were usually new cards that were open and charges. So you could have done that, but they absolutely would have gone straight to your parents to go criminal.
Yeah. What do you do when you're in that situation? You want to help them out, right? Because now I'm in a situation where I can, whereas, they raised me, I went off to college, got a job. And so I figure, it feels like even though I'm upset, my credit is totally destroyed. I want to help you not be under a bridge.
You mentioned the power company charge, and like I'm in my own head, I'm processing like, well, how bad was the stealing? As if stealing's not all equal.
Yeah,
but like the electric bill is like one kind of stealing. If they also put like home electronics and stuff on it, that's a different kind of spending on.
And if it's a situation where they're like 50 DVD players and they're going and reselling them so that they can make cash out of your credit, I don't
know what's the worst to me, because to my mind, frivolous spending is one of the meanest things they could have done.
Well, what I just suggested is like outright theft, right? Where they're taking pennies on the dollar on your credit to put cash in their pocket, like. So what was I think we're going to get to the root of this later, but and maybe I'm jumping the gun a little bit, but there's going to be this thing we're coming to. And it's like, at what point do you say family or not? You know, I don't want to jump the gun yet, but like, that's what's in my head right now. It's like family or not.
So what was on the cards? Let's.
It was mostly just utility bills.
Okay.
I had no idea that it was even being used. Like I never got any like fraud. This card is being used across the United States from you. I never got any alerts or anything like that, because I guess they had started using it before I even got it. So that was like the first time it was used. And so that location didn't trigger any red flags for them.
Right. Yeah, they don't know normal spending patterns because the new cards.
Mm-hmm.
And this was about the same time you had given them a car, right? Or was that a bit afterward?
I brought them here and they had a car, but they pawned it. They pawned both of their cars, actually. And so then they were just walking to work or riding a bike to work. And I was like, this is not right. Like, you guys shouldn't be pawning your vehicles, but also like you can't walk in minus 20-degree weather 2 miles like that. I mean, you can, but I'm not going to let you do that. So I got them a car. Yeah, and then they got that, like one of my sister's friends stole it and got into a hit and run, and the police raided my house. It was just a giant mess. Like,
man, you've had
Jesus
so
Christ.
much drama in your life. Like, are you on medication now to be this chill?
no, not really. It just, I don't know. Like, I can be really upset. So, like, some days I think about it, but most of the time, I don't know. It was really hard the first year, but now
Family must be really important to you.
I would have liked to think it was at the time. I mean, that's what
I know.
Your actions speak to that. Yeah.
Yeah, your actions are louder than words. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I love my family. I really do. Like, I've had differences with my mom and stuff, but like, I love her a lot. If she needed help, I'd help her. I'd be there in a heartbeat. But if she stole from me, like, that's a one strike you're out kind of thing. Like, if she stole from me, like if she asks for money, oh, you can have all I have and more. I'll borrow money and get it to you, like whatever it takes. But if you steal from me and you're that close to me, I can't forgive that, because that's so nefarious. I've never experienced anything like that. I've had family members borrow money and then be a little weird about paying it back. And that's one of those things where it's like, come on, like, you're going to make me come to you to ask you for my money back. Like, that's a little shitty. Like I won't mention which family member, but it's like a extended family member. And like, I've loaned them money. It took a little while to get it back. I got it back, but it was like, you made me come to you for the money. And that's a little shitty. You should like if the shoe's on the other foot, if someone borrows money from me, or excuse me, if I borrow money from someone, you're not going to have to come for that money. As soon as I have it, and I'm going to be giving you updates. Hey man, I'll have that money in 2 weeks, I think. Or actually, I won't have it all, but I'm going to have like 2/3 of it. I'm going to get that to you right now. What's the best way for me to get that money? Would you like cash? Would you like a check? Would you like PayPal? Like, I'm trying to make it right because I know what it's like. This is blowing my mind that this happened to.
It was as I was watching the video, I was like I clicked the first one you made, and I was like, I mean, everybody has family problems. It can't be that bad. And I'm like bench pressing, listening to it, like using my anger at your family, like those bastards. like, I can't believe, like giving them a car, them committing crimes in the car, you getting your house raided. What was the house raid like? Was it over pretty quick when they realized, the situation, or was it like, it's obviously cops in there. It's not their job to understand. It's their job to respond. How did that go?
The car was in my name because I didn't want them to pawn it, of course, which is kind of a crappy thing to have to even consider that they would do with something that you're gifting them, which is strange. But it was in a hit and run, and the tag and the insurance came back to me. And so they came to my house and they were like, come out, hands up, all that stuff. But after they were like, I don't even have this car. Like, I'm still here, haven't gone anywhere, like, then they were like, oh, okay, well, you'll be contacted by the lady's insurance and this is her info and all that stuff. And so now even today, my car insurance is all super high for something I didn't do.
Fucking ridiculous.
So that's how that works. If they get into an accident while you buy the insurance, it's your problem.
Yep. If no one will claim it, then it just goes to the person's name that's on it.
Something that was curious to me listening to it is the period of time that your dad seemed to not have a job. Like, did he have a job all throughout your growing up years? And then once he realized he could kind of use you as a bank account, he stepped back and decided to bum? or was that? It seemed almost like sudden, or did you kind of see signs of that as a kid?
He had the same job. I mean, like pretty much the same job my whole life, and then his company wanted him to start charging like 1,000% markup on a parts, and he's like, I'm not going to do that. We've been selling it for this price for so long, and this feels like theft. And you want me to sit here and fill out my time cards and stuff while I'm still in their parking lot and charge them hourly for that, even though the job is done. He's like, I'm not going to do that. That's like stealing from the customer. So I'm going to quit, make my own company. But what happened was that he signed a non-compete when he was 27 years old that said he cannot work in any industry related for 2 years. So what do you do? That's what he's been doing for 30 years. I mean, so he broke the non-compete, made his own company. They eventually found out because he took some customers, and then they sued him and he lost. And that, I don't know, when they took his house, one day they just showed up to take his boat. Like I was just chilling upstairs playing games, and some people showed up to take the boat. And I was like, hey, there's some people stealing your boat outside right now. He's like, just straight face, just looking at the TV. I'm like, bro, there's people hooking up to your boat in the driveway, and they just took off. And from then I was like, something's not right. Cause I was working with him while he had his own company, but I left right around the time things started to fall apart. I really had no idea, because I was there when he got a DMC later, a cease and desist pretty much. And he's like, nah, I'm not even worried about it. This is, the only thing I've done my whole life. There's no way they can tell me I can't do this, because it's the only thing I know how to do to make money. And he seemed pretty confident, but he lost because he got sued in 2 different states, Georgia and the headquarters where they're at. And so he couldn't pay the lawyer, he couldn't pay his mortgage. So they just took everything from him. And then from then on, I think it was just kind of like a mental shift happened. He wasn't the same man that I knew growing up. But he had jobs when he got here. Well, not at first, but I gave them my apartment and 3 months rent up front. So you don't have to ask me for money, because I hate that. Like you're my parents, I don't mind, but here's 3 months anyways. Here's everything you need. Go look for jobs. And they said that they would get jobs, and they said that they had jobs, but then things started to not add up there. I would, go visit them, just check in on them, see how they're doing. And one of them would be at home. Like my mom would be at home, and I'm like, you're supposed to be at work. She's like, oh, it's my day off. So then I'd come maybe a day or 2 later, she'd be home again. I'd be like, it's my day off. I'd be like, no. And so eventually I found out that she had gotten fired from a job, and she just couldn't admit it. So
you are such a nice guy.
My wife is watching your
By the way,
videos.
Josh, I need to borrow like $15,000. I know we haven't known each other long, but it's only 15, right?
I have a topic like that coming up. I'm watching your videos, and my wife is just milling around the house, folding laundry, making dinner. And she's like, is that your guest tonight? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, he needs a hug. So
dude, I want to give you a hug. I really do. I want to tell you this right now. What's happened to you is bullshit. And you seem like a really chill, sweet guy, and you don't deserve all that has happened to you. And if there is some sort of afterlife, that's not really my bag, but I hope if you believe in one, then you're going to be treated well, because you're a fucking saint. You're one of the kindest individuals I've ever even fucking heard of. This stuff is outrageous. Anyone else would have like pulled the ripcord on step one.
So much. The story where you learned paragliding was like somehow that sunk in extra deep for me. We can talk about that later, by the way. But so you're on the mountain, you're doing your thing, and your dad's there. And he's supposed to be driving, I think, for Uber or something to make extra cash. But instead he spends the day with you. And you're like, oh, this is kind of neat, like Dad's watching me do a thing, like sort of fulfill one of my own life goals. And here he is checking me out, etc. And then as the day sort of wraps up, I imagine you there kind of exhausted, having walked up the hill a dozen times with the freaking heavy ass wing, hard to carry, slung over your shoulder. And your father starts bumming money off of you. And it comes to a realization that he's not there to see you like, I don't know, complete a life goal and learn to fly.
Yeah.
He's there for cash.
It was a trick. Yeah.
Ouch. So the most recent video I got to see, Josh, you told your father at the beginning of the month that you couldn't pay his rent. And then at the end of the month, you also said, hey, don't forget, I'm not paying your rent. He was like, why are you springing this on me? Why didn't I get more warning? You told his parents that. The thought process being, this is your grandparents, the thought process being, hey, heads up, I expect them to come to you next.
Yeah.
And they gave you the whole, I don't know, some like Bible verses, and they went hard. My wife
they
did
were
not
absurd.
approve.
Yeah, what did they say? Like, I hope you can live the rest of your life with no family. You need to honor your father and mother. And it's like, and you said the perfect line in the video, I'll botch it, but you basically were like, so everything was fine. Our relationship was hunky-dory and dandy until I said one thing about not wanting to pay anymore. And it's not like your parents are handicapped or crippled or they're injured to the point they can't work. It was just like, yeah, it really did reveal they saw you as like that's just like a cure-all. That's just our cure-all to every problem. What do you need? Oh, just ask Josh. He makes YouTube money. And meanwhile, you're trying to build a career online, and it's not good to have a bunch of emotional hot tie-ups and hang-ups. It really, people may think like, oh, making YouTube videos, oh, that's like the dream. It's like, well, it's also self-driven. And if you're not in the mood to be doing something like that, you're not going to reach the level of success you otherwise would. And obviously, having your parents and grandparents, like, I think you may have even agreed what your grandparents said was even more fucking absurd. And I also hate that Bible verse shit when it's convenient for them. And like the whole time, like, cause I had to go to like the kind of cult,
fucking pull out that
reference.
Bible verse about paying your debts.
Yeah. I was seeing those texts. I was like, I really hope the next time he sends like a bunch of Bible verses at them, like fuck you verses. And it's like, and you, even in your video being more like, you handled it more maturely than I would have. I would have sent a bunch of Bible verses. Like, you're going,
it is wrong. The wicked borrow and do not repay, but the righteous give generously. Fucking send that one right back at him. Good Lord, man.
So you said that you never had a strained relationship with those grandparents, and it wasn't until they were trying to like act as like a defensive hedge around your dad that they reacted that way to you. Were there any signs that they were never that close, or did you think you had a good relationship?
Like we would get along. I'm not a super religious person, but they tried to make me and my sister always go to church and like force me to like Bible camp and stuff for 2 weeks. That was a whole thing.
Shit sucked.
And I don't know. It was just kind of like agree to disagree. Hi, how you doing? I'll give you a hug if I see you. And that was it. Like there was nothing really bitter or anything. And so when I said, hey, I'm not going to pay the rent, just giving you a heads up that they're going to come to you. I'm not saying you have to. Nobody's got to do it. I'm just saying this is what they normally do. I don't want to do it. And it was like, you've burnt your last bridge with me, son. Hope you can live the rest of your life without talking to your family. And I didn't know what to say. I was pretty at a loss for words. So I literally just sent a thumbs up emoji, and he put classic response. Josh.
It was a perfect response.
Perfect response. Look, how old are you, Josh?
I'm 31.
Okay. First of all, you look 25. So kudos to you. Proud of you for sending the thumbs up emoji. Yeah. Proud of you. So proud of you for sending the thumbs up emoji and cutting this out of your life, because
thumbs down emoji would have worked too.
That would have worked too. Or been like, yeah, the money's on the way, and then block communications. There's like, I don't know. He said it was coming. I don't know where.
Oh, geez, you don't send it to.
You just
you don't send it. You don't send it.
Yeah, that's so fucked up. Like, I can't imagine my grandparents being like that to me. Like it doesn't even cross my mind. Like they would never be that cruel. And this is something that, it's not just religious people. None of us are.
No, it's not just religious.
Yeah. It's like a level of vindictiveness of, oh, you're going to question like the life I've set up. You're going to take the pillar that you're holding my life up with and remove that. Well, fuck you. You're going to hell. You're going to hell, and you're going to, you don't get to, be in the, what was it? You showed like 2 books where you're like, they told me to read this, and that if I read them, I'd go to heaven. That's not how it works, even by their own rules. But in that your grandpa would be smiling down upon you as you read them. And that is such horseshit, such manipulative horseshit.
Yeah, my grandma was very like, because my grandpa had just passed away. I was pretty fresh, like, I don't know, maybe like under a year or something. And she would send me all these religious books and be like, yeah, thanks, Grandma. And sometimes she'd send me the same book twice. Maybe she forgot that she sent me the first one, but in the book, she would leave her own little handwritten notes, like, just read these and pray and do all that stuff. And if you do that, then your grandfather will be smiling on you from heaven. But if you don't, you won't get to see him again. It's like, Grandma, I'm 30. 29. You know, like, this doesn't work.
Yeah, I'm not feeling scared anymore.